Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on this Monday morning. Golly, we're still here in Atlanta in the temporary studios at Mallory and Tyler and Chandler's here in Smyrna, about a mile from Truist Park, Braves Stadium, I call it. But, man, there's just a little bit to talk about today. I think a lot of people were blown away yesterday when the playoff rankings came out. And whatever they are, the rankings just, to me, look like that that Florida State's entire season, I'm not sure what they accomplished. And how do they get left out? Their president, I know, is madder than hell. Mike Norvell is. Their players. To hear a comment from Jordan Travis, I wish I'd have broken my leg earlier in the season. That part was sort of like, wow, you hate to hear somebody say something like that, but only 4 teams made it. And Brett McMurphy put out early yesterday morning who he thought his top 4 teams would be. And he got it right, exactly right. He's really good at that kind of stuff. Now, he lives, I think, out in Dallas, and he's on top of it. He's probably got incredible sources, but Michigan and Alabama will play. Washington and Texas will play. And everybody else is in some sort of a bowl game or whatever. But I'm going to tell you, this is what makes college football the game that it is, because everybody is talking about it. And, you say we're going to go to a 12-team playoff next year. It's going to ruin it. No, it's not. We'll go to 16. We will. College football is the most personal game in any sport, because when you're talking bad about somebody's team, it's like telling them they got ugly kids. They love their school, and they are myopically focused on that school. That's their family. That's how it is. And that's why this is such a big deal. Got a great show today. Mitch Davis, the MitchDavisShow.com joins us. David Schultz, Locked on Sunbelt, Schultz Cast, will join us in the second segment, top of hour number 2. Franz Beard, holy cow. It ought to be fun to hear his commentary this morning. And Wess Moore over in Little Rock, ESPN 103.7. He's going to have a lot to say about this as well. 25 times a month, over 300 shows a year. That's what we do here on Sidelines. And Mitch, I've got my thoughts on the playoff, but I want to hear your thoughts on the way those final 4 teams were selected by that committee of 13 out in Dallas, locked in a bunker somewhere in a hotel.
Well, Rob, good morning. It's always good to come on with you. I really appreciate you having me on. Been a busy 36 hours or so for both in sports and both in private. We'll talk about the sports part of it. The committee got it right. I don't know why Florida State fans are upset. The ACC is terrible. I mean, when your runner-up of your conference gets their butt handed to them at home by the University of Kentucky, who is a bottom-dwelling SEC team, shut up. I am so sick and tired of hearing these stupid Florida State people and these stupid national media people who are saying, "Oh, there's an SEC bias." All right, come down here and play us then. If you want to talk about an SEC bias, all right, Florida State, pony up and let's go play in the SEC. Come on, put your money where your mouth is and shut up. That's how I feel.
Well, I got a picture yesterday from a friend of mine, and it was Bobby Bowden and Nick Saban on the football field together. He said, if Florida State fans want to point the finger at someone to blame for why they're not in the playoff, it's this man, Bobby Bowden. He had a chance in 1992 to get Florida State into the SEC. You had Auburn and Georgia and Alabama. Everybody wanted them in the league. They chose not to. And you're right. The bottom line is Florida State had a hell of a year. They did. But that performance Saturday night did not help them against Louisville, again, a team that had lost to Kentucky. Mike Leach was a prophet. Remember when he said, this committee, they're all smarter than everybody else. What are these people's qualifications? Mitch?
Well, it's funny that you asked that, because it's like when you look at the committee, you're like, okay, I mean, There's Mitch Barnhart is on there, who's the athletics director at Kentucky. Mark Harlan, the athletics director at Utah. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the college ball playoff chair member is
Luke
a
Oregon.
member of the ACC. If I'm not mistaken,
He's the athletic director at NC State,
so,
Luke Oregon. Yeah.
The thing about it is, when you compare the SEC to the ACC, there's just no comparison. And what's really funny is, when you really want to deep dive into this playoff and make some people really pissed off, talk about how the playoff is 2 SEC teams versus 2 Big Ten teams. The future of college football is heading to where it is the SEC and it is the Big Ten. If you're not in one of those 2 conferences, you're going to be left behind. Because the level of competition that you play in the ACC, yes, going undefeated in your conference and winning your conference championship is always an impressive thing, and that should be celebrated. But going undefeated in the ACC is nothing. I mean, literally, I go back to watching Kentucky beat Louisville, who was the runner-up in the ACC, and scored 38 on them. A Louisville defense that held Florida State on Saturday night to 16 points. There's no comparison between the SEC and the ACC when it comes to football, and there's just not. And there's no comparison when it comes to baseball and women's basketball. I mean, South Carolina women's basketball team went on the road to North Carolina and beat them by 35 points the other day. I mean, the SEC is just better. I don't know why people can't comprehend this, because people have been hating. And Rob, you caught me on a morning where I'm already fired up. I'm ready to rock and roll. But people have been hating on the South since 1861. They just have. They have been looking down on the South since then, since 1865, since 1866.
Way before that, Mitch. It took a long time for them to invade. Yeah.
They all think that we're dumb, ignorant hicks. Yeah, I live in Mississippi. Hell yeah, I live in Mississippi. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. Hell yeah, I'm from Memphis. But you know what? I guarantee you, if y'all want to come down here and y'all want to talk about football, y'all want to talk about baseball, even college basketball, come on. Bring it on, baby. If you want to play in the SEC, Kirby Smart said it best the other day. Call Craig Sankey up. There's an open invitation.
Look, here's another thing. And by the way, I want to say happy birthday to Guy May. Guy and Beverly own Biddy and Bo Coffee in Auburn, next to Auburn Bank, right there at Magnolia and Gay in Auburn. Guy, one of the members of the great May family from Tuscaloosa, veterinarian, part of the May Veterinary Clinic. Happy birthday, Guy. This is something to say. This envy of the Southern schools, it is so overt and it's obnoxious. And Ohio State has their minders on every damn television network telling you how great they are. Look, I'll tell you right now, and you all know I am an Auburn graduate and damn proud of it, but I am objective. I'm probably, no doubt, harder on Auburn than I am any other school in America. But give Alabama credit, damn it. They had the most difficult path of anybody to get to the playoff. And you tell me, I don't care. Take your cynicism and shove it up your get it out of here. I don't want to hear it. Auburn, anybody. Here's the thing. If that were Auburn or that were Tennessee or that were LSU and they were 8th and they had a chance to play the number 1 team in the country and their conference championship, you all know, if you're honest with yourselves, you'd be saying, well, by God, if we beat number 1, we should move into the 14 playoff. It's not like they became the number 1 team in the country. They only moved to number 4 in the past. We all know 1977, Notre Dame was number 5. They beat number 1 Texas. They became the national champion. 1983, Miami was 5th. They beat number 1 Nebraska, and Auburn got really screwed. They were number 3, and number 1 and 2 in front of them lost. But you gotta, I don't care. Alabama did not move to number 1. They moved to number 4. That's all that happened.
And I think, Rob, we're having the wrong conversation. This is going to send some people.
Wait a minute.
We're having the wrong conversation today, because Florida State fans are going to be, and honest to God, I think Washington fans can be upset with this comment. But there's no way in hell that you can convince me that Georgia should not have been in the college football playoffs over
Correct.
Washington. Yeah. Georgia, back-to-back national champion, they would beat the dog breaks. I have to be careful. The dog breaks out of Washington. They would. I mean, it is what it is. So you're telling me, so 3 out of the 4 teams are correct. So Michigan, Texas, and Alabama, those are correct. But Washington, playing in that weak conference they play out there where they still wear their COVID mask and they wrap up in scarves like little freaks that they are, and they worship China and all these other different things out there in the Pac-12 land. You're telling me that Washington would have beat Georgia in a head-to-head matchup in a neutral site? Hell no.
Yeah.
Like that's what. So we're having the wrong conversation today. Florida State, yes, they had a great season. Alabama's going to be in. You're not going to leave an SEC champion out. But the wrong conversations are being had today. Georgia got screwed. Georgia should be in the college football playoff because they are one of the 4 best teams in the country right now.
Yeah, no doubt, Georgia. It should have been. What I kept saying was, if Alabama wins, we said this on the show last week. What if they win 21-20? You could potentially see the SEC left out. But looking at it, Washington, they're 13-0 in the Pac-12. I don't care. It's the end of the Pac-12, but that conference is still not as good. The way it ended up this year, Georgia would wipe the field with Washington's carcass. And they would do it with Oregon. They did it. I mean, I know they did it last year, but look, the 4 teams should be Michigan, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. They should be the number 1 seed. Okay. And you definitely have Texas in there. Okay. And then Georgia and Alabama. I mean, look, Washington had a good year. No way. They're one of the 4 best teams. It's a good story. It's a narrative. And they wanted to, okay, I want football to be good all over the country, but you got to earn it. I'm not giving a participation trophy for the college football playoff. It's not going to happen. And that's what that was. That was a feel-good story.
Texas is a double-digit favorite. I mean, I don't understand why we can't comprehend the fact that Georgia is one of the best. You can't drop a team from 1 to 6. And the only reason why they put them at 6 is just to make Florida State feel a little bit better about themselves. But it is absolutely ridiculous that we have to sit here and give credit to the Pac-12 or give credit to the ACC. Those conferences would never stand a chance against anybody in the SEC. I mean, I guarantee you, Rob, if LSU or Ole Miss were to play a Pac-12 schedule or were to play Florida State schedule, those teams would go undefeated in the ACC and the Pac-12.
Hey, let me here's a question from a listener in Utah, Alabama, EUTAW. I love that. But what this listener is saying, dang, Mitch is dogging the ACC. Does Mitch think Washington and the Pac-12 are more worthy than FSU and the ACC? If the committee is picking the best 4, Georgia should have been in the top 4 over Washington. No, and that's what you said.
We covered that.
Yeah. No, but I mean, he may have sent that. I didn't know when he sent that. But Joe's a very smart football guy. He's a friend. I mean, I'm not telling you, he knows football. But this is the thing. Washington is good. But, okay, 8 of their last 9 wins have been by single digits. Now, that makes you a better team when you win a lot of close games. But Georgia against Alabama, I don't know what it is. I was at the Georgia Dome in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium Saturday. By the way, it is a sad state now that we have evolved to. There were many people who were 3rd and 4th generation ticket scalpers. We all know them. You know, they've always got tickets to everything.
Yes.
The most famous scalper that I've ever known is my man in Auburn, Snake. Yeah. I'm like, Snake, what's your last name? He goes, I got no last name. I'm like, okay. But Snake is always there in Auburn at the same place every weekend. And if I need tickets, Snake always has them. So I said, so anyway, at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, there were still people out there trying to sell scalpers paper tickets. Now they're all electronic now. Yeah. So it was, I'm going to tell you one thing, man. I worry about 3rd and 4th generation scalpers. That's a family business. But they were there were people that were getting burned buying electronic tickets on an email or a text, and they would try to get into the stadium and it had already been used. Let me just say it's a mess and it's very difficult. And there was one guy trying to sell half a ticket, and he said, man, see that little bump on there? And he goes, that'll get you in. And the person I was standing next to goes, all right, let me take it up there to the guard and let them scan it. And he goes, no, and he ran off. I mean, I worry about that. But you $300 and $400 for those tickets. And I think the guys were telling us the Big 12 championship is like $56.
Yeah.
They were giving them away at most other conference championships. The SEC is a great conference. Washington's a good team. Washington and FSU are similar. The ACC, I think, is pretty good. I don't want that conference to disappear.
I do. Here's why. Because they in the Pac-12, the Pac-12 dying has been the best thing in the world because they all wanted to shut down during COVID. You can't.
I agree.
Go woke. Once you go woke and you go to the extreme left, like the ACC has, like the Pac-12 has, like the Big Ten has, you go broke. It is what it is. I mean, that is business. The SEC said, "The hell with that. We're going to play." And look at what the SEC is doing the best that it ever has been. Rob, I see your comments absolutely torching me on your things here. I see one where somebody said that FSU was robbed, plain and simple. Go undefeated to win your conference Power 5 at that. Georgia didn't win their conference. All right, well, would Florida State win the SEC? I'm asking. Would Florida State win the SEC? No.
No.
They wouldn't even. Florida State would not finish in the top 5 of the SEC. They just wouldn't. Yeah. Florida State would finish below Ole Miss. They would have finished below Missouri. So, yeah, they would finish 5th in the SEC. I mean, Ole Miss would torch FSU in that weak defense that Florida State's got right now. And Ole Miss would put up at least 55 points on Florida State and Washington.
Well, look, Florida State is not – them choosing not to join the SEC years ago is biting them on the butt. It is. And here's some more comments coming in here. It's all bullshnikes. It's never been about the 4 best teams. If Auburn knocks down the 4th and 31, does that make Alabama a worse team than FSU? No, they're still a better team, but the committee wouldn't put a 2-loss team in the playoffs because winning matters. FSU got screwed. I think Ohio State is one of the 4 best too. So again, this, and I'm telling you that the guy's smart too. What people need to, this is what makes college football so damn fun. Is this interest. Now, when we go to 12 teams next year, 13, 14, and 15 are going to have a hissy fit when they're not put in. And I'm trying to get, there's comments all over the place, Mitch. I can't even get, I'm glad you can see them. I can't see them.
We would have 4 teams in the playoffs this year. 4. We'd have Ole Miss, Missouri, Georgia, and Alabama. I mean, no other conference can do that. The ACC would have 1 in Florida State. They'd get their participation trophy. They'd get to go play Liberty, which Liberty's a hell of a ball club. But I mean,
they are. But Mitch, Florida State is a damn good football team. But I don't think they're one of the top 4. I think it's Georgia, Bama, Texas, and Michigan. And I mean, y'all know where but I do a show. My job is to be objective. You know, nobody's going to take you seriously if you're a homer.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I'm just looking at it and saying with Alabama, remember, they were written off. When Alabama loses under Nick Saban, it's epic.
Yeah.
When they lost to Texas September 9th, they wrote them off. In my opinion, Jalen Milroe was suspended for the South Florida game. I really believe he was. I think he was suspended. Yeah. Something happened. He was suspended. It's what I think. Okay? And I think Nick Saban was trying to prove a point and say, okay, all you people that know everything tonight, I'll show you what we got behind Jalen Milroe.
Yeah.
Tyler Buckner and Ty Simpson. Okay? And they were like, they won because they just have better players in South Florida. Alex Golish, offensive coordinator at Tennessee, the head coach down there. Look, Ohio State's quarterback, explain this one to me. Kyle McCord is entering the transfer portal.
Yeah,
what in the world is going on with that, Mitch?
So I would expect, just because his numbers were not that great this season, and I think Ohio State, I don't follow Ohio State as close as that probably other people do, but I know that they've got a talented recruiting class coming in. They obviously probably have somebody in mind in the transfer portal. That one is probably one of those where the coaching staff said, hey, look, you need to get out of here so you can get playing time next year, because once this said guy comes in here, you're not going to be playing. I think that's one of those instances. I don't think he's going to be as highly touted as everybody thinks he is, because he didn't perform well at Ohio State with all the receivers and all the weapons that they had at Ohio State. He didn't perform as well as he should have with those caliber of receivers and the caliber of offensive firepower that they have at Ohio State.
Yeah, well, Ohio State, Ryan Day in 5 years has not lost a single Big Ten game to any team except a team named the Michigan Wolverines. That tells you how unbalanced the Big Ten is. Although if Iowa had an offensive coordinator and a few skill players with that defense, they're the best team in the Big Ten. Okay, Now, Shoney, this is when Rob, I guess he's talking about me, tries to convince us why the top draft choices should play in postseason exhibitions. Well, you know what, Shoney? I'll tell you what. There's something, the cynicism of so many people, it's sickening. You are on a team. You're going to be remembered the rest of your life. Look, last year, Bryce Young and Will Anderson, the number 1 and 3 picks in the draft, played in the bowl game for Alabama against Kansas State. Alabama won like 45-20. They will be forever loved and memorialized by Alabama fans for doing that. And also, more than anything, from their teammates. You know, this thing of here's what happens nowadays. Guy comes out as a freshman, has 3 or 4 good games early. Man, he's going to the league. You know, he's great. Oh, yeah, he'll be gone in 3. Sophomore year, they come back. They're okay. The junior year, first 3 or 4 games, they rock and roll, and suddenly they get an injury. I just don't know what that injury is. Agentitis. It's agentitis. They're told to slow it down, and so they basically quit on their team. So let's say you have a business partnership, and there's 4 of you on a team, and you got people like that are half-assing it and quitting and not showing up for work and not doing it. You think you're supposed to divide that evenly, 25% to each? Hell no. There's no, look, fans can get hurt driving to the games. They can be in a car wreck. You can get drunk and fall off the curb and roll your ankle. I mean, this waiting for the other shoe to drop mentality is a bunch of garbage. How many players have been hurt so bad in a bowl game playing? I mean, you talk about McGahee back in 2002. He came back and had a long NFL career.
To me, it's quitting on your teammates. I'm 27
Correct.
years old. I'm a little bit older than some of these guys that are playing college. I don't know. Some of them are 30 years old and still playing college.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not anymore.
We're not going to get that far down the road yet. But, to me, I mean, I look at a guy like Ray Davis for University of Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky's playing Clemson in the Gator Bowl, which I think is going to be a fun matchup. I think it's an exciting thing for Kentucky football, considering that they had a terrible season by Kentucky standards right now. But Ray Davis said he's going to sit out of the bowl game. And to me, and I talked to my dad about this, that's quitting on your teammates. That's quitting on the guys that have been in the warpath with you, in the trenches with you each and every day. And you just want to say, hey, I'm going to give up and I'm just going to go focus on the NFL. Okay, well, what about Kentucky? What about the place that gave you the opportunities to succeed? I mean, and all these guys that are hitting the transfer portal before the bowl season starts, Grayson McCall at Coastal Carolina, the list can go on. And I saw a Texas A&M guy went in there last night. When those guys enter the transfer portal this late in the season, right before a bowl game, that's taken away from the opportunities, and that's taken away from the rest of your teammates who have worked their ass off to be in those positions to compete at a high level and compete in these bowl games. Because, Rob, as much as people want to try to say bowl games don't matter anymore, they do. They matter to the fans. They matter to the people. I can tell you that from a media standpoint, I am more than likely going to cover Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl down in Atlanta. Yeah. It'll be my 3rd New Year's Six or 4th New Year's Six in the last 7 years, which is really awesome. I've been very blessed. Cotton Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, now hopefully Peach Bowl. So yeah, to me, guys quitting on the team right now is just a terrible. It is so stupid to me, because we would have never seen this 10 years ago. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney, who's the number 1 draft pick, rocked the world of Michigan. and with that big old hit in the Outback Bowl. And we would have never had that if Jadeveon Clowney said, hey, I'm just going to sit out and not play the bowl game. So,
yeah. Mitch, look, the problem with this is these fans that you're screwing the fans. Okay. Then if the players, first off on Ray Davis, let's quantify this guy. He had 285 yards against Florida. Florida's not a very good football team. In the other 4 games for Ray Davis, the running back, against Georgia, Missouri, South Carolina, and one other game, Tennessee.
Yeah.
In those 4 games, his total rushing stats, 164 yards. This guy's not a pro player. I mean, he showed up one time.
Yeah.
And his stats against those other 4 teams were 164 yards. That's 41 yards a game. If you don't show out and show up against the best competition, I'm folding the page on you. And this he needs to play in the bowl game to prove that he's a legitimate player. He's an idiot.
And Clemson would have been a heck of an opponent for him to prove that against. I mean, they've got a
Correct.
good defense. I see is it Rob Anderson? I see how upset our teammates with Ray Davis skipping the meaningless game. It's not a meaningless game for Kentucky fans. I promise you right now, my dad has been a season ticket holder at UK for a while. It's not a meaningless game. Kentucky fans are excited. They're excited to have the opportunity to go down to Jacksonville, to a recruiting hotbed where Kentucky has done well in recruiting wise. Mark Stoops, they got to get through all the stuff that, stuff happened with that. But Kentucky's excited. Bowl games matter, y'all. I mean, I don't know why people say bowl games are meaningless. Bowl games matter. I mean, look at Troy, John Summerall, what he's building down there at Troy, Alabama. They're playing in the Birmingham Bowl against a Power 5 opponent in Duke. They just went 10-2 or 11-2 at Troy and won the Sunbelt Conference. You're telling me that they don't beat Duke and they don't win that Birmingham Bowl? They don't have all this motivation and the momentum heading into the 2024 season. I mean, at Troy, John Summerall. So go tell Troy, go tell Memphis, go tell Kentucky that bowl games don't matter, and come back to me and see what they say.
Well, yeah, and this is something to remember, and we all know this. Don't forget, in February of 2022, the 3 members of the Alliance, remember, the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12, all voted against expanding the college football playoff earlier than 2024. Remember? Because they're the jackasses that tried to shut down football during the virus crap.
And that's why when the ACC dies a painful death, I can't wait. I cannot wait to watch, because it's karma. Karma is going to come back and get you. If you want to shut down the sport, then hey, by all means, your conference is going to be dead.
Yeah, I don't hate the ACC. I really don't. I'm going to get Tommy Kane on here later in the week, covers the ACC for us, NC State grad, but he's smart. I mean, he gets it, but they did. They tried to shut down football. These jerks back in the spring of 2020. There's no way we can play football. And now you can't watch TV without 3 commercials in every break about some sort of virus coming up. They're trying to scare everybody to death to walk around with a face diaper on.
They got they got Kelsey, Mr. Pfizer there, that Aaron Rodgers calls him Mr. Pfizer. They got him taking the COVID shot. I mean,
hey, I've never seen this in my life. Let's get everybody get a vaccine. Get a vaccine.
I mean,
shut up. You ever heard of the HIPAA laws?
Yeah,
private health care. Yeah, it's nobody's business.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
I mean, I'm a little chunky. I've eaten some fried fish down here in Mississippi. I'm a little chunky, but I'd rather focus on SEC football and drinking good bourbon and serving the Lord and loving my family, and sometimes in that order, Rob. So. It is what it is.
Hey, listen, you know what? We're about to have to run out of time. I got David Schultz coming up next. But, Mitch, this is the thing. Take care of your own health. I mean, since when do we have to broadcast everything we do for our personal health care? Are we going to start having videos of us going to the bathroom? This is nuts. Okay? Now, look, great points being made. All I can say is those 3 conferences that tried to shut football down, you're right. Karma's biting them on the brass. Okay? Mitch, tell us and all the listeners, viewers, how they can follow you, keep up with all the great work you're putting out on your show and the journalism you are actually writing, the power of the written word.
I appreciate that, Rob. It's Mitch Davis _8 on Twitter, themitchdavisshow.com, and then on SoundCloud, The Mitch Davis Show. Going to be having Gary Stoken come on December 18th, the CEO of the Peach Bowl. Peach Bowl, and Harold Grader is obviously going to be coming on. So I've got
Liberty Bowl.
Got some things going on this week, my grandfather and stuff like that. So content might not be coming out as much this week, but we're hopefully going to hit the ground running next week and really focus on the bowl game. So Rob, I really appreciate you having me on.
Hey, I'm glad that you are not afraid to voice your opinions. That's important. Free speech alive and well on Sidelines. Take a quick break and be right back with another one of the great orators, one of the oracles of Delphi, Q's Nation forever, David Schultz, right after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne back here with David Schultz coming on right now from Schultzycast and Locked on Sunbelt. David, saw you doing a lot of really good work from Troy the other night. My website director constantly says, watch what Schultzy's doing. You're about the most active person on Twitter and social media.
Oh.
You really are.
Not really.
And how about James Madison getting into, Liberty getting into a New Year's Six bowl? That is a huge story right there. But what do you think about it?
Well, sorry for eating on your show. I apologize. Yeah, that's kind of crappy, right?
Trying to stretch it out, man.
Right, I appreciate that. Either, strength of schedule counts or not. Do they deserve some credit for being undefeated? Sure. You play every game and you win every game, but they have they have the easiest schedule in the nation. Like, they're 133rd.
Was that their schedule ranking?
Yes. They're last in the nation. They are going to get, now, if Oregon is motivated, right? If Bo Nix comes back and plays.
Correct.
Right. Oregon would be Oregon and Georgia, for that fact of the matter, would be the two teams that are like, maybe we're going to, fade them a little bit because they're not going to be quite as motivated. So we'll see if Bo Nix comes back. Maybe he wants to, try to go out on a win. I think Liberty's going to get, boat raced in that ballgame. I don't think it's going to be close. That's if Bo Nix comes back and, they are motivated to go out with a victory because, they've had a great season. They just couldn't beat Washington. But no, I think the Liberty thing, Jamie Chadwell does a great job. They have some great facilities, but they played a nothing schedule. And so there's others, saying like, let's not do a Power 5 game, right? Let's not take a money game. Let's not take a loss, and maybe we can get a New Year's 6-day bowl. Why would we do that, right? I mean, the committee and the people who do the bowl games, it is hypocritical. They can't keep their story straight for 5 seconds.
Yeah. What about Mike Leach's very prophetic comments when he said, we're going to let this committee, and they're just the all-powerful, all-knowing, all-smart people. Right. What are their qualifications? And they're just going to decide who these teams are. But I'm going to throw this one at you, David. And it was pointed out, and I've got so many comments coming in on text and here, so I'm going to try to get to them. But remember, it's from a listener. It said, remember yesterday when I felt bad for FSU and the ACC? Well, it appears they are directly responsible for not expanding the playoffs earlier. So guck them. You get what you deserve. Be mad at the right people. But in February of 2022, the 3 members of the Alliance, ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12, all voted against expanding the college football playoff earlier than 2024. Your thoughts, Schultz?
Well, yeah, they kind of reap what they sowed on that one, because I've been for a playoff for a long time. I still don't think they got it right. I still think it needs to be 16. And I still think, And I think this will change between 24 and 25. I think you're going to get home games for everybody, right? We're going to see how good those home games do in 2024. And then, because then the Alabamas, so to speak, and the Michigans wouldn't have a home game, and they want a home game. That's the whole idea, right? We want to see somebody from the SEC play in the snow. And Big Ten, don't move it into the dome. We don't want a dome. We don't want a dome. Unless it's going to be dangerously cold and you have to move it at the last minute. You play it. Don't tell us you need time, because you're only going to play it. The team that may be hosting may only have a week. So don't give me that. All right.
Yeah.
Play it outside, play it in the conditions. Again, if it's dangerously cold, then maybe you have to move it. But other than that, play it outside. Any way they went, Rob, that it was going to be a tough decision, right? If Texas doesn't get in, right? We can sit here. I can make an argument for everybody not being in, right? I mean, we knew going into the season, Georgia and Michigan's schedules were cream puffs compared to everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Florida State, they went and played LSU, right? And they play Florida every year, right? Alabama has a home and home, which I love with Texas, right? They went, and they, each team won in the opposing stadium, which is great for the fans. Everybody loves that. But, everybody, Washington didn't play particularly well outside of beating Oregon a couple of times. And then, you got to tell me, Rob, how, they don't like the way that FSU beat Louisville. Okay. So whatever you think of Louisville, and I saw them play against Kentucky. I'm trying to figure out how they lost that ball game, but they did. How is Florida State's 10-point victory over Louisville with their third-string quarterback less impressive than Alabama's win over Auburn with their Heisman-ish quarterback? Because Rob, if they lost that game, say the ball gets tipped away, or God forbid they rush 3 or 4 guys, right? And Alabama loses. Forget the fact that even if they won the SEC championship, they wouldn't be going. All right, forget that fact. The idea coming out of that ball game was, how did Nick Saban lose to a team that completed 6 passes? Auburn completed 6 passes, and they should have won the football game. So before anyone tells me, well, FSU wouldn't have been able to score against whomever they're playing, all right, maybe not. But Auburn scored against Alabama, and they completed 6 passes. Also, whoever the quarterback is for Florida State's going to have a month to prepare. They've had 2 weeks to prepare now, right? Yeah. They had to play against Florida and Louisville. So they've only had a couple of weeks to prepare. I'm not buying that. Do I think Alabama or everybody would have beaten Florida State? Sure. But don't tell me who would be favored, because the last time I looked, Oregon was favored by almost double digits, and, they lost. So I can make a case for everybody getting in. I can make a case for everybody getting out. It would have been a whole lot more fun outside of seeing Danny Cannell's tears to see what would have happened if Alabama was left out. That would have been... I was hoping for chaos. We got chaos. And it was, I was driving home from Troy yesterday and heard all about it. I mean, you can't tell me, because I'm listening to Matt Jones. He's like, Louisville just lost to Kentucky on their home field after Alabama hammered Kentucky. Well, Alabama at Auburn, I get it, barely beat an average Auburn team who, wait for it, got boat raced by New Mexico State at home.
Yeah.
So, you want to do transitive property, we can do that all day long.
Yeah. And I think it's very dangerous to do comparative scores. That's another thing that a lot of people make the mistake of. But, where people are freaking out. Okay. You think about this, David, and I asked this with Mitch. Can you imagine what Auburn fans or LSU fans would be saying if they were number 8 and they were 11-1 and they played a team for the conference championship in Atlanta, Georgia, that was defending back-to-back national champions, number 1 in the country, 29 straight wins, saying, hey, if we beat number 1, I'm not saying we'll be number 1, we'll at least be 4 or 3. Alabama did it. They had the most difficult path of anybody to get in, and they did it. Now, you know me, I'm an Auburn grad, but you've got to be honest and objective. They definitely deserve to be in. As far as FSU getting left out.
Hold on. Is it deserve or the best? Which one is it, Rob?
They're the best.
Well, you just said they deserve to be in.
Well, I mean, they earned it. Yeah, it's not a
But they didn't
participation
win all their
trophy.
games.
What?
They did not win all of their games. Florida State won all of their games. In fact, Alabama lost at home.
You know, the game that cost Florida State was the UNA game. That meaningless, stupid game when Jordan Travis broke his leg. And for him to come out and say, I wish I'd have broken my leg earlier in the season, that shows you how personal college football is. That's sad.
So I just want to make sure we understand this, right? So you're telling me Alabama deserves to be in, right?
They earned it.
Okay. If Jordan Travis doesn't get hurt, is Florida State in?
The committee would have probably put him in.
Yeah, they would have.
I think they screwed them and they held it what they should be. Look, I'm just saying about Alabama. You can argue for several of these schools, but what you got to say with Florida State is the committee projected that with them taking a third-team quarterback, Brock Glenn, out of Covington, right next to Memphis, that they wouldn't have gone that far. The real story should be, look what Florida State did, having to go down to their third-team quarterback. They went 13-0. Right. That's the real story.
That's right. They beat their rival the same way that Alabama beat their rival. And Alabama needed, it wasn't really a Hail Mary, but a completion on 4th and 31. A mini miracle, right? It's not like, and that game, again, was not like it was 35-31 and a couple of explosive plays. 6 passes. How do you lose to a team, which they didn't?
Yeah.
Complete 6 passes. So you can't tell me that Alabama was so impressive against Auburn and then tell me Florida State was not impressive against Florida. I mean, come on. We got to have a little consistency here.
Yeah. It's tough, David, because you look at, if any school out there in America that was number 8 that beat number 1 was 11-1 and then 12-1 would say we earned our way into it. You're right. Now, what you can't do, the committee should never do, is say, well, we want to be inclusive and have a team from the West Coast. I love to see college football good all over the country, but let the free market do its thing. Washington, 8 of their last 9 victories were by single digits. I think that makes teams better when you win close games. And I thought Michael Penix was the better quarterback Friday night.
Yeah,
look,
it was.
I haven't watched this much Pac-12 football in a long damn time.
Right.
But and by the way, David, you are, I love having you on here because you tell it like
Can I tell
is.
you something? Hashtag always a bright side, Rob. Hashtag always a bright side, right? So we live here in Lafayette, Louisiana, where we do have sports gambling. And there is not sports gambling in the great state of Alabama. There will never be sports gambling in the great state of Alabama.
Sadly.
So on Friday night, right, I'm not sure about going into the ball game. It sort of changed throughout the week that Jaden Daniels was the favorite going in to win the Heisman, and then Bo Nix was. Whatever it was very close, right? It was, Bo Nix was like minus 140, and Jaden Daniels may have been like a plus 120 or something like that. And then it went back and forth, right? All of a sudden, Washington is ahead, and Bo Nix is, Jaden Daniels is a big favorite, and then Bo Nix brings them back, and they take the lead, and all of a sudden, I think you could have gotten Jaden Daniels plus 200. But being in the great state of Alabama, I neither won or lost money because I could not bet. But you could have, I think he's like minus by the end of the night, or certainly into Saturday, sitting at the Troy ball game, you could see he was minus 4. Jaden Daniels was a minus 1,400 favorite for the Heisman. So I didn't win money. I didn't lose money, but it was watching. It was interesting watching on how the odds changed in real time.
Yeah. And speaking of that, what the Heisman Trophy, Jaden Daniels versus Michael Penix and Bo Nix, if the Heisman is the most valuable player, David, and so you say, well, what would LSU's record be? Frank Duffy, Mr. LSU Tiger, who's on the show with us every week, is like, we'd be lucky to be 500 without Jaden Daniels with this terrible defense.
Well, that's
Bo Nix, without Bo Nix, how good is Oregon? How good is Washington without Michael Penix? Right. So what is the Heisman Trophy supposed to be? The best offensive player on the highest ranked team?
And well, it usually is. It usually is the best player on the best team, right?
Yeah.
That's not what it always has been, right? Lamar won it with some losses. RG3 won it with some losses. Tebow won it with some losses. But just watching Jaden Daniels, he is amazing. Now, I would put a little bit more responsibility on him losing the Ole Miss game than others. It's tough. It's really tough to blame somebody when they score 49 points, but they didn't get a first down when they should have gotten a first down, and they should have won that football game, and the offense didn't get the job done in the 4-minute offense. I'm not even sure if it was 4 minutes. They needed to get a couple of first downs. They would have won that football game, and who knows how the rest of the season plays out because you beat Ole Miss. Now that game against Alabama is for a shot in the playoff. Anyway, or in the SEC championship game. So, but Jaden Daniels is a special player. He's gone from, again, maybe you can do it. I can't do it. People can tell me what I'm looking at when it comes to football. I still don't get it. You got to show me why Caleb Williams and Drake May are exponentially better than Jaden Daniels. I just don't see it. I think Jaden Daniels is right up there. He's different than like a Michael Vick and a Lamar Jackson. Those guys seem to be super twitchy and super quick, whereas Jaden Daniels is like a gazelle or a cheetah. He's going past guys. They look like they're running full out, and he is just gliding right past them. He's really good. Dane Brugler of The Athletic has him now, I think, as the third quarterback taken. I hope he either ends up with my Patriots early on or the Saints, because I think he's a special player. Kind of had a Joe Burrow kind of transformation from one year to the next. Maybe he's got to put on a little bit more weight because he's going to get hit a lot more in the NFL and harder and needs to learn how to slide. It'd be nice if they had a, national championship baseball coach over there at LSU to help him learn how to slide. But other than that, I think Jaden Daniels is going to win the Heisman. I don't think it's going to be particularly close if people held their votes out for Friday. I don't think you have to shade Penix or Nix. They both had fabulous seasons. Nix is a great story, right? He's probably going to finish his college career in the Senior Bowl, which will be fantabulous. It'll be the Bo Nix show there in Mobile. We'll see if we get to go or not. But I think Jaden Daniels is going to be your Heisman Trophy winner, and I think he deserves it. He's the best player in America. I don't think it's all that particularly close, but again, I don't want to take anything away from Nix and Penix. I think you can, appreciate what one guy did without putting down the others. Well, because I'm kind of that nice guy, Rob. I'm a hashtag always a bright side guy.
You are, but think about this. Lamar Jackson with Louisville, they were 9-3. Robert Griffin III, Baylor, they were 9-3. Tim Tebow in 2007, they were 9-3. They won the Heisman. Now, obviously, the comparison always goes back to 1956. None of us were around back then. Paul Hornung on a 2-8 Notre Dame team beat out Johnny Majors. But I will say this.
Who should have won the Heisman that year, right?
In 1956?
Yes.
Arnie Davis?
Well, no, he did win the Heisman. No,
well, I'm sorry.
Brown.
He did. Yeah.
Jim Brown should have won the Heisman.
Oh, Jim Brown. Wow.
Jim Brown
he finished second?
I don't think he came in second, but he should have won the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
That's when Dick Schaap was at Cornell already writing. He said he never voted for the Heisman again because he knew it was a racial vote.
Wow.
Jim Brown should have been the Heisman Trophy winner in 56, but they,
the thing about Jim Brown, multi-sport athlete, what a great lacrosse player he was.
Yeah.
That's probably what made, because don't underestimate, I'm sure you played lacrosse growing up as a kid outside of Syracuse.
No chance. Are you
no
kidding?
chance.
Are you kidding me? Football with a stick and a heavy ball? No way. Come on.
But I'm saying it's a physically violent sport.
It really is. Yes.
Yeah. And like I said, my brother-in-law played football at Virginia Tech and then played rugby into his 50s. You talk about getting the hell beat out of you. That's a tough sport. But you know what, David?
And the girls play lacrosse with like half a helmet. I don't get it.
Yeah. My daughter played a couple of years, and they're about taking
like
heads off.
Guard.
Yeah. Yeah. You're about to take heads off out there.
Yeah.
Let me throw something at you here. Kyle McCord, Ohio State's quarterback, entering the portal. Shoney says McCord can't play dead in a Western. Well, he got him to an 11-1 record. He's a pretty good quarterback, but
pretty good.
He is good. And he's been 1 year as a starter. I mean, what do fans have become so damn cynical. They're so negative.
It's going to be interesting if we ever find out. Was that I need to stay or you need to go type of deal?
That's right? That's the question that begs to be answered.
Do we think Ryan Day has somebody else, or, it can be all about NIL money. I'm not sure if McCord is an NFL quarterback, whatever the case may be. But it would be interesting to see, whether it was kind of his decision or not. Maybe Ryan Day said, hey, Ryan, we're going to open up the competition next year. And he's like, yeah, no, that's not happening. So I don't know. Can the kid get $1 million to $2 million? Where's he going?
That's unbelievable. I don't know where he's going, but did you see this ranking of the college football's top NIL programs? A&M number 1.
And how's that paid off?
I know. Southern Cal number 2.
That's paid off well too.
Yeah. Texas number 3. Oregon number 4. Florida State number 5. And people say Florida State doesn't have any money. They've got money, but they just don't have as much. They hadn't been around. They didn't start playing football until 1948, but they got pretty damn good tradition. Yeah, they're one of the top, programs.
I'm waiting, and Texas is, that I don't know if that's Arch Manning or not, but I haven't seen the effects. Maybe it's even things out a little bit more. I'm not sure we've seen quite the effects of NIL just yet.
No, we're not.
Or Miami's the transfer portal just yet. Yeah. All right. Maybe other teams aren't quite as dominant, like Alabama, right? And it gives other teams a little bit more chance. But the problem with the NIL and the portal, right? Like A&M was all in, and they got too many guys all at the same position, and they're transferring out. Any of those guys like Snow, Rob? Any of those guys like Snow? Because A&M's defensive line coach is now my defensive coordinator up in Central New York. I don't know if any of those guys like Snow, but Elijah Robinson is going to Syracuse. Bring those guys along. Can you imagine if they get like a 4 or 5-star guy from A&M at Syracuse?
They didn't keep him at A&M. Shows you how stupid they are.
Well,
he is the most loved assistant on that staff, other than Terry Price, who passed away last summer.
Right.
I cannot believe. Look, I thought
they made him. Well, hold on. They before we give some shade to Mike Elko, he made a significant offer to keep him as the defensive line coach. He got a promotion to be the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I get it.
So
he's kind of like, though, he's sort of like their Cadillac Williams. He's very loved. He's a very, very strong figure out there recruiting the players. But you're right. He turned it down. All right, number 6 NIL is Miami. Number 7 is Auburn. Number 8.
But the Miami is one guy. The Miami is one dude. That's John Rui. That's one dude.
Yeah. And I know number 7 at Auburn, and Auburn is now really
that's one dude too.
Well, no, it's not. Trust me, I know a little about this one. Auburn's got a collective. They're looking to get 5,000 people in called On to Victory.
Right.
And they're also, working Ever to Conquer as another one, a subgroup, sort of like a Black Ops group within Delta Force.
And does that money match the one guy?
Oh, yeah. Trust me, the people you think that are doing it at Auburn, some of them I've met with, they're going, I'm tired of everybody thinking I've got to pay for everything. Pick up the tab every time we go to dinner. Trust me, it is a populist grassroots deal. I think that Auburn realized
I'm going all Ron Burgundy on you, Rob. I don't believe you.
It's a wide group. But then number 8 is SMU. Number 9 is Tennessee. Number 10 is Ohio State. I tell you, I've got a good insight on SMU, and everybody knows this. They had a call for funds about a month ago. They raised in a week $150 million, and it's just they've got them a big boy football program there in Dallas now, and they're going to be a problem because they're in the ACC now. But the thing about NIL, what I've talked to people involved with it, they say, look, if the kid is only coming for money, they'll tell them, then you don't need to come here because you're going to end up like what A&M did. You've got to, they said, come here on a game day, but come here on a Thursday or during the middle of the week when there's not a game. You better find out this is where you want to be, because A&M had a bunch of guys that showed up that were bounty jumpers that got paid and got there and didn't really fit into the culture. If
we say just as long as we say the same thing to the coaches, you guys coming here for the money?
No, I agree.
Here to win.
Totally agree, David. Look, you are right. And boy, that Elijah Robinson.
Just edit that out. You are right. Can we just edit that out? Can I put that on as a gift? You are right. That doesn't happen very often, Rob.
No, you are right. You're right a lot. But look, Elijah Robinson going to Syracuse, you watch the number of defensive linemen. He's kind of a Rodney Garner type guy. You'll start seeing these really good defensive linemen show. Hey, Syracuse has got tradition. It's just
well, they have a couple of different traditions. They haven't had anything good in a few years. I'm almost worried about this, Rob. I don't mind if Fran Browne doesn't stay very long, or these guys, but I'd like them there at least 2 or 3 years, right? I'd like to have them. I wanted a young guy, right? I didn't really like the Dan Mullen thing because Dan Mullen's going to get him to play better, and he could be gone in a year or two. I was hoping Fran Browne, somebody like a Fran Browne, up-and-coming recruiter, position coach, coordinator, can get up there and kind of set the foundation, build the foundation. That's what Syracuse does not have. They don't have any recruiting foundation. And I don't want to come after the kids on Twitter because I'm not that kind of guy, but, and I said it already. You could show me, you could tell me what I'm seeing, and I still wouldn't understand it. But when it comes to recruiting, you watch the Syracuse guys, right? Who do they get? They get guys that, he was also considering Toledo and, Miami of Ohio and Kent State, which are fine MAC schools, but they're not playing the Clemsons, the Florida States. I don't mind not competing with the Clemsons and Florida States and the Miamis because they can't. But you damn well better be able to compare with the Wakes and the Dukes and the BCs and the NC States and even the Carolinas. And when you can't, this is what happens. And so hopefully they can just get some of these guys that, you don't need all of them, but can you get 1 or 2 that were going to Penn State or Ohio State? Maybe.
Yeah.
Jeez, you got to be able to you got to be able to compete in the ACC, and Syracuse hasn't been able to do that. And we hear all kinds of excuses why.
Syracuse has the top broadcasting journalism school in America. You think they would be able to communicate
or catch?
Yeah, but you've got to learn. You got to get your message out there. Hey, look, we've run out of time, and I know. Look, let people know how they can follow you. You're as active as anybody in America on social media with what you do on the GOAT for the Sunbelt for college football. We got basketball coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun.
App State, how about App State taking down your Tigers there, by the way? How about that?
Yeah. That's
you didn't see that, did you?
No, I'm in Atlanta, and I'm here at my daughter's. And
do they have Ham's beer in Atlanta? Is there any Ham's beer in Atlanta? Any Ham's beer in Atlanta?
I can't find it anywhere. And I'm not in my Ham's beer studio.
And you're better off for it.
Oh, it's tough, but I think we had the Miller Lite they got down here though. Ray would be proud of that. But let them know how they can follow you.
Follow me
out a ton of work.
At Schultzy SCHULTZY cast and Lockdown Sunbelt. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I need 40 a week. Not likely, but not impossible either. So please subscribe on YouTube, like it, share it. You can also do it on the audio podcasts wherever you get it. Just search Lockdown Sunbelt.
We could put up under here on the banners, subscribe to Locked On Sunbelt.
Yeah.
Drive,
perfect. #drive for 1,000. All right.
Okay.
All right. I'm not above begging, Rob.
hey, man, this we're all in sales. And when
some call it suggesting I'm not above begging.
Neither am I. All right. Great stuff, Schultz. We'll do this again.
Rob.
Back on here next week. Appreciate everything you do. We'll be right back after a quick break with Franz Beer at hour number 2.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
Curve everything else. Win, 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 win. These ops ain't lit. Mommy. Win, 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 win.
All right, gotta love it. Franz Beard over there on the banjo and the fiddle simultaneously, as they say down in South Alabama, simultaneously at the same damn time. Franz, I'm just going to go ahead and ask you how you doing, and I know what you're going to say. Just another day in paradise. But, folks, Franz Beard, GatorBaitMedia.com. It's also on the Buddy Martin Show a lot during the week at 9 p.m. Eastern. Putting out, again, every time I talk to Brendan, he's like, man, Franz just keeps putting out better and better content. He's writing the best stuff in his life. He really is. And, you know, my dad said, I think something about architects don't start hitting their prime until their 60s, and they can go to 100. But the great architects that designed the great palaces for Catherine the Great and in St. Petersburg, Franz, you know what they used to do to them? They took hot copper coins and burned out their eyeballs so they could never design anything as beautiful for anybody else. Now, we're not going to take hot copper coins and burn out your eyeballs so you can't continue to write. But I'm going to tell you something. I know you got a lot to say about this college football playoff stuff going on, but let me make an announcement real quick. I got a text in the middle of the night from my friend Elizabeth Nickey, who I work with at First Bank Raymond James. And this is pretty darn cool. Her son, Braden, we love this kid, Franz. He's a graduate at Christian Brothers High School, University of Arkansas. Just wanted y'all to know, Braden is a Ranger. He's a go for graduation December 8th at Fort Benning, Georgia. They just finished up the final phase, the swamp phase at Eglin Air Force Base down there in the panhandle of Florida. And I was telling Liz, I said, I went down there a few times as a reporter. Look, all he's got to look out for are alligators, rattlesnakes, panthers, and bears, and mosquitoes. Other than that, it's a nice place to visit.
Don't forget the water moccasins.
That's right, the cottonmouths as well. But congratulations, Braden Havasta. Just you think these kids in America today, when people say, oh, there's no future, meet Braden Havasta. This kid is awesome, loves the duck hunt, great kid, loves his mom and dad, and just a great kid. An Army Ranger. He'll officially get the black and gold tab December 8th at the graduation ceremony at Fort Benning. And friends, I'm going to tell you what, college football playoff stuff yesterday. Were you surprised in any way? Let's go.
No, and what? Pardon me, I'm a little froggy this morning.
Okay.
What we wound up with, think about it. 2 Big Ten teams against 2 SEC.
Yeah.
Because Washington goes to the Big Ten next year. Texas goes to the SEC. So what we have is the Big Ten versus the SEC. And I think we're going to wind up with an all-SEC championship.
I think you're right.
If Texas plays 2 more games like they played against Oklahoma State, it's over, folks. It is over. I don't know if you saw that, but their receivers, they catch the ball and it's all of a sudden it's like they punch the little button and it's like boom. They have an extra gear there that nobody else has. Their defensive line just totally dominated. I thought Michigan has great personnel, but they only got 26 points against that Iowa team. And people can say, well, Iowa plays great defense. Iowa sucks. I mean, they really do. Any team that only averages 246 yards a game of offense, and they managed like 150 against Michigan, Michigan had such good field position, still only wins at 26-0. I just can't see that happening. And I'll go ahead and address it right now. Florida State got what it deserved.
Yep.
Any way you look at it, and you can go all the way back to when 1992 they had a chance to join the SEC, and Bobby Bowden said, well, we're going to join the ACC because it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Going undefeated is easier if you're a team like Florida State and you are in the ACC.
Yeah.
I don't think Florida State is as good. I think they're a very good football team. I do not think they are as good as Georgia. I don't think they are as good as Alabama. Yeah, they got a win over LSU, but LSU lost 3 ball games this year. LSU LSU couldn't stop anybody. LSU couldn't stop a team quarterback by me. I'm 72 years old, and I may have lost a step or two in my time on this earth. And that's not to say I was fast to begin with. You know, they used to time me with an hourglass in the 40s. But FSU, you can go all the way back there. Here's my thought about FSU, though. They need to beat Georgia in the Orange Bowl, and then they can do a UCF and put all over Doak Campbell Stadium. 2023 national champions. UCF, it was good enough for UCF in 2017. They went unbeaten. They got snubbed by the committee. I don't even think they came close to getting a call. And then they went out and beat Auburn, which had already beaten Georgia and would have beaten Georgia again if they'd been healthy. They weren't. But UCF claims that 2017 national championship. Well, the precedent has been set. FSU, just go out there and beat Georgia, and you can claim the 2023 national championship.
You know, UCF claimed in 2017 that they were national champions. Florida State, I got a picture sent to me by a good friend of mine who's a regular on our show, our barrister, Jack Turner. It was a picture of Bobby Bowden and Nick Saban on the field before a game or somewhere. And
in Jacksonville.
Yeah, in Jacksonville back in 07, 08, whatever.
No, it was more like about 2009 or 2000.
Yeah. Okay, so he was still coaching. That's right. And he said, if Florida State fans want to look for someone to blame, look no further than Bobby Bowden. He turned down the SEC, much as we love Bobby Bowden and all, but I mean, call it what it is. I think that what people need to, what people need to really think about is this karma. Go back to in 2022 when the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12 formed that alliance. We're going to shut down college football. Everybody shut up and put a mask on. Do what you're told. Get a vaccine every other week. Shut up. Do what we tell you to do. You know what? This is called karma, and it's biting them on the ass. They don't like it. Not a thing they can do about it. They dug their own grave, friends. And look, I don't have anything against Florida State, but I will say this, friends, and you know where I graduated from. So when I think about this, with if Florida was number 8 and they had beaten the number 1 team to be 12-1, people are getting it in their head that they went from 8th place to number 1. They moved from 8th to number 4, but it's a 4-team playoff, so they just got in. Now we've seen teams go from 5th to 1 before when they beat the number 1 team. Texas in 77, we come to mind, and Miami in 83 when they jumped Auburn. That still makes me mad. But bottom line, you look at your conference. The 4 teams should be Michigan, Texas, Georgia, and Alabama. Those are the 4 that I think should be in there.
Well, if we're going to go by the 4 best teams, Alabama's in there, and so is Georgia.
Yeah.
Reality. I mean, people don't want to admit it, but Georgia lost 1 ball game, and that's to Nick Saban. Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah. What would have been cool now, it would have been if it's Oregon in there and somehow Michigan got caught because of the cheating and was not allowed. Then you could have Dan Lanning, who's a Saban protege, Sarkisian, who's a Saban protege, Kirby, who's a protege, and Nick. It could be like old home week for Alabama. It's amazing the influence this guy's had. You think about it. I know it's hard for Auburn people because I have friends who are Auburn people, and they ask themselves, why didn't we hire this guy?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who think that. I see in this comment, I'm glad they're going to 12. Yeah, they need to be in 12. They should have been in 12. Here's the other thing why Florida State needs to be pointing a finger at. They need to be pointing a finger at their commissioner, little Jimmy Phillips, who along with Kevin Warren, who along with the idiot who runs the soon to be Pac-2, George Kliavkoff, those three guys torpedoed what would have been a 12-team playoff this year. FSU would have been in a 12-team playoff. FSU would have been in.
Yeah.
They need to be pointing their finger at their own commissioner, who was part of that foray into stupidity. The senator from Louisiana, John Kennedy, would look at Jimmy Phillips and say, "You're a special kind of stupid," and I agree. They torpedoed it. We should be in a 12-team playoff this year because Sankey and Jack Swarbrick, the Notre Dame athletic director, and Craig Thompson were sent to come up with a new plan for the playoff. And they came up with one with 12. And Kevin Warren convinced little Jimmy and George Kliavkoff. George Kliavkoff, of course, you could offer him a new dog biscuit and he'd come along, woof.
Yeah. Yeah. Boris Karloff, I call him.
Yeah. You look at them and they led this charge because they said, well, the SEC will get 6 teams in every year because they'll load it. Well, guess what? And that didn't happen. The problem is this. It's written into the bylaws of the playoff committee that they can take into an account an injury that makes you an injury that causes you to be less of a team than you were before, which they did with Florida State. I have no question that Florida State with Jordan Travis is in that playoff. I do question, but I will tell you this. Without him, they're not. They're not one of the 4 best teams. They are an exceptionally good team, and they may end up beating Georgia because if Georgia shows up in the Orange Bowl totally uninspired and they have a bunch of opt-outs for the NFL, which who knows, they could. It happens every year. You think about it. FSU is going to go in there, and they're going to have a lot of motivation. But again, how many FSU guys are going to be on that defense? Are going to say, like Jared Verse? Is Jared Verse going to look at this and say, if I'm not playing for a championship, I'm not going to risk getting hurt in that game. I'm going to opt out and train for the NFL draft. Jared Verse is going to be somebody's first round draft pick.
Yeah. Well, let me say this, Franz. Shoney, how upset are teammates with Ray Davis skipping that meaningless game? No game is meaningless, Shoney. If the fans have to pay for gas, pay for hotels, I'm not driving to see someone not try. And as far as Ray Davis goes, this guy needs to play in every game he can to prove that he can play and perform against legitimate competition. He had 285 yards against Florida. Florida is not a great team. But then against Georgia, Missouri, South Carolina, Georgia, Missouri, Tennessee, and South Carolina. In those 4 games, Ray Davis had a total of 164 yards. This guy's going to be lucky to be drafted because the pro scouts are looking and going, if you don't show up against the best competition and don't give me that, he didn't have a good offensive line. Let me tell you something, man. As a parent, you can't just walk out on your kids because they're not good athletes. Remember, they're good at something else, or they'll get better if you spend time with them. People don't get better through watching. They get better through doing. Yeah, his teammates will be mad. Because you know what? Not everybody on the team is a narcissist. Well, you got to worry about their career. Again, fans can get hurt, friends, going to the game. We've got to get rid of this. If you keep thinking something bad's going to happen, probably will. What? Here's the deal. Here's what I've learned about people. Conceive it, believe it, achieve it. The power of positive thinking. I cannot stand negativity. I cannot stand being around negative people. Everyone always says the top guy on the sales floor, well, he's a dumbass. He's getting everything given to him for free. No, they're not. I know top salespeople. They work their asses off. Like, I mean, if I get a call at 5:30 in the morning on the way out to the duck blind from a client, I'm answering that call. Yes, sir. How you doing? How you doing, Franz, or whoever, I'm taking that call. I just think look, it does matter. I tell you, Kingsley Egonquin, I know I'm butchering his name, is one of my favorite players in college football because of what I asked him about NIL at Media Days in Nashville back in July. He said, honestly, it'd be kind of silly to go somewhere for a couple $100,000 when I've been here for 3 years, 4 years. These are my brothers. These are my guys I'm going to be tight with for the rest of my life. Because I said, what if you go somewhere else and it doesn't work out? You can't go back home. No one ever forgets people that walk out and quit on them.
Well, Kingsley, by the way, declared for the NFL draft. He could have come back for an extra year.
Would he have been a 4th or 5th year player?
He would have been. This would have been year 6 for him.
Okay, see, he needs to go. But you know what? Does he have his degree? I bet he does, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he's got his degree.
Do you know him? You know these guys.
This is a kid who started 26 consecutive games, and he had injury after. He had a high ankle sprain that never healed properly. And he got out there and he re-injured it and stuff like that. And that's a problem with I've known people with high ankle sprains that weren't 100% for 6-7 months afterward. No matter how good of the treatment you get, every ankle is different. Everybody responds differently to those kind of injuries. The ankle's a very sensitive part. It's like I wear Hoka shoes.
The best shoes ever made, by the way.
And the reason I wear them is because my podiatrist told me that he would disown me if I didn't start wearing them because I kept getting plantar fasciitis.
Mm-hmm.
I wear plantar fasciitis. I don't get that, every foot is different. Every ankle is different. And your podiatrist will tell you that because, it is one of the most sensitive parts of the body. And it's probably one of the most neglected parts of the body too.
Yep.
We don't think of that, but like my grandfather always told me, wear the most expensive glasses and the most expensive shoes you can wear. Because the more expensive they are, the better they are on your feet. You can't live without feet and eyes. And
smart man.
But here's Kingsley's a good case of a kid that came back and had a year when, oh my gosh, he'd probably like to forget. And, you think, could he have made the difference? I don't know. I know he probably would have in that Utah game, first game of the season, because Jake Slaughter was deer in the headlights. Now, Jake Slaughter turned into a very good center as the season went along, and he's going to end up being he was a redshirt freshman this year, and he got, I think, 9 starts. And here's a kid that's going to be he's going to be starting at center for the next 3 years. Here's a guy that's probably going to go into the NFL draft 3 years from now with 40-something starts as a college center if he can avoid being injured. And that's a guy that's going to make a lot of money at that position. Let's get back to the original premise that you were talking about with stuff like this. I think they should put it into these contracts, and they get NIL contracts. If you don't play in the bowl game, okay, unless there's an injury or some circumstance that prevents it, you don't get, you owe all your NIL money back. You have to pay it back.
Yeah.
It's a very simple thing to put a clause like that into the contract when you get your NIL money.
Yeah.
And these guys have just got to understand, there's a consequence for everything you do, whether it's a good consequence or a bad consequence. There is a consequence for every word you say, every action you take. There's a consequence of breathing. Okay, I get to live again. Because I breathe, I get to live. Okay,
correct.
And we don't take that into account. And kids need to learn that at an early age. Okay. You want the money? Fine. Here's the deal. You will play every ball game. And that includes the bowl games, whatever like that, barring injury. And if you don't, you're in, you have to pay it back.
Yeah. And that's the thing about it. People say, well, it's a meaningless game. It's not meaningless, not to the rest of your teammates. I mean, if that's your approach on life, you're an idiot. And bottom line, you have to, you are a member of a team. Absolutely agree with you. It should be a clause in your contract. If you fail to play in the bowl game, you're not getting your NIL money. And the problem is most people don't know really what's going on with NIL, Franz. They've not read the contracts. They've not looked at it. I have a little bit of insight. I will tell you this. When you sign an NIL deal, you are signing something, okay? It's called a contract. You don't make the rules. You are an employee, for lack of a better term. You don't do the social media and the public appearances and the autographs, you're fired. And I think this is a problem. The reason I'm so adamantly opposed to players quitting, we had to come up with a sanitized term during the virus, draconian lockdowns, opting out. No, it's quitting. You are quitting on your team. Now, who among us that's listening or watching was ever told by their parents as a young kid growing up or a teenager or an adult, it's okay to quit because it's too tough? No way. No damn way. You start quitting, you'll quit everything tough in your life that's not easy. And that's the problem. Talk to people in the job world now. I mean, they will tell you these young kids coming in today, a lot of them, you got to hold their hand. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to communicate. All they do is stare at their phones. They don't know how to communicate. And if they don't like something, they want to just quit or go file a grievance or go to HR and whine. Man, the only people that I respect or you respect, Franz, to this day probably are the people that were the toughest on you growing up because what they said was the truth. I mean, we have got to quit coddling and making accommodations for the dumbest among us in society so they feel less stupid. That's just the way it is. But we've gotten to that point, and I like Kerry J. Big Ten wanted to shut down as well when the China virus showed up, not just the Pac-12 and ACC. They did. The Pac-12 didn't start playing until November 7th. They have been driving themselves closer and closer to the edge of the cliff. And honestly, they've gone off the cliff now. They did it to themselves. Well,
Here's the thing that people don't realize, I think, is that, there are clauses in there like strength of schedule does matter. Okay. FSU's schedule was the number 55 schedule. Alabama's was number 5. Yes, FSU had a win over LSU first game of the year when LSU was, I don't know that, I think that defense that FSU has is legit. I think they are really, really good. They're the only team that really held down Jaden Daniels all year. But the offense that won at Florida against a bad Florida defense, and won against Louisville, despite, in a really bad ball game. I mean, let's face it, that was a bad ball game. That was difficult to watch. That offense it ain't gonna cut it at this level. You're not gonna beat a team like, for example, Texas with that offense. I mean, my goodness. There's a lot, you get to that next level, that Final Four level, And I feel bad for FSU because they, you can't blame it on the kids. The kids can only play the games that are scheduled for them. The kids come to FSU and they play in the ACC, and the ACC is not the ACC top to bottom is not the SEC. And if it were, then they'd have more than 2 national championships. Well, you count Florida State, they got 3. Since the year 2000, they've won 3 national championships. The SEC has won, on the other hand, has won how many?
Since 2001?
Yeah. Since let's see, they have not.
Wow, one.
They won in 2013. They won it, and then
2003, 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. That's
no,
8.
Miami was not in the Miami 2003. Was
Miami joined the ACC in 04.
LSU was in the won the national in 2003.
Yes.
2004 was Southern Cal. Yep. 2005 was Texas. 2006 was Florida. 2007 was LSU. 2008 was Florida. 2009 was Alabama. 2010 was Auburn. 2011 was Alabama. 2012 was Alabama. 2013 was Florida State. 2014 Ohio State. 2015 was Alabama. 2016 was Clemson. 2017 was Alabama. 2018 was Clemson. 2019 was LSU. 2020 was Alabama. 2021 was Georgia. 2022 was Georgia. Other than that, my memory's slipping.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were right on every one of them. And the SEC, the athletes, even when you look, I was watching the Oregon-Washington game. The athletes out there, they're the muscles, they're just not the same athletes that you have in the SEC. You look at the physical, nature. The SEC, these are the best athletes in college football in America, period. And the teams like Alabama and Georgia are 2 and 3 deep at every position. And when you're 2 and 3 deep on your front 7 defense, you're going to win national championships. And I think Ryan Day at Ohio State, they have not lost to anybody since he's been the coach at Ohio State in the Big Ten other than to Michigan. 3 straight years.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get Michigan taken out. And again, we had Bill Hancock on the show a few weeks ago talking about the rankings. The question was asked to him by Doug Dean, one of our team members, about the problems with Michigan and signals and all that. And he said, look, we're not a rules governance board. That's not what we do. We rank the teams. That's what we do. So whatever happens, that we don't know what's going to happen with that. Look, Franz, hang on. We're going to take a break. Franz, Wes Moore's on in the bullpen, ready to jump on with us. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to be right back. Holy cow. This is a hot topic, but it's what makes college football special is it's so personal. And a team being left out is like being left off the invitation list to a party, and you thought you were friends with those people. Well, you found out maybe you're not. We'll be right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne back with Franz Beard, GatorBaitMedia.com, and also Wes Moore, ESPN 103.7 The Buzz. In the capital city, Little Rock, in the natural state, the land of opportunity where they got it all, oil, natural gas, and bauxite. And this year, $14 a bushel rice. Wes, how you doing?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. It was a great weekend. High school football state finals. Bobby Petrino in town. It was a lot of fun.
Have you had a chance to see Bobby Petrino yet? Maybe go for a motorcycle ride, or how's he doing?
Man, I missed him. He was at War Memorial Stadium Saturday with Sam Pittman for the state championship games, and I was in the press box calling the games for TV or radio, and apparently they were on the second floor shaking hands and meeting people, and then of course out on the field making sure they were seen by the players. But I did not get a chance to say hello to him, but saw Tim Horton, saw Houston Nutt, talked to those guys for a minute. PJ Fleck was there, recruiting the Lindsay kid out of Fayetteville. Of course, he's committed to Minnesota. Yeah. I'm sure with the news of Bobby Petrino, made PJ Fleck a little nervous, and he was down at War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock to watch Fayetteville and Lindsay play on Saturday afternoon at noon. And it was pretty cool. He was there with his Minnesota gear. It was easy to see on that Fayetteville side of the stands and shaking hands and taking pictures. But it sounds like, you know what, he's done a great job of recruiting Lindsay, and Arkansas didn't recruit him. They didn't pursue him because they had another quarterback they wanted. And I don't even know. I mean, I know Petrino and Pittman met with the family, but both sides have basically agreed that to move on, and it's too late. And so Lindsay's going to, as of right now, stick with this pledge and go to Minnesota.
Is he related to the Lindsay, who's a pretty well-known Arkansas supporter?
Grandson.
Yeah. That's. I mean, and again, they do what they've got to do. I understand it. How did Walker White do in the playoff game Friday night? I'm in Atlanta with our daughters, and just have been doing. I'm behind a little bit. So how did Walker do in that game, that 6A game Friday night?
Yeah, struggled. Greenwood was the better team. It was pretty apparent, and Greenwood had their way. And Walker started out under a lot of pressure. They put 2 spies on him, took away the threat of him scrambling, and just some ill-advised throws, and then some uncharacteristic throws. I've seen Walker play better. I've seen him play better in recent weeks, but he didn't have a great game. And look, Greenwood was the reason why. To me, they were the dominant number 1 team in 6A. Little Rock Christian was going to have to play almost perfect to beat them, and they were nowhere near perfect. And so it was a struggle for Walker.
Hey guys, real quick, not to interrupt, but there's a juicy rumor out there. Will Rogers is transferring to Washington. There's another juicy rumor out there. It's not a rumor. Dylan Gabriel is in the transfer portal, going to play a 6-year. Watch him go to Mississippi State to continue with Jeff Levy. Kyle McCord, Ohio State, is in the transfer portal.
Wes, are you surprised by that news about all these guys going into the portal like this?
Well, it just shows you. Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, Oklahoma quarterback, Ohio State quarterback. I mean, yeah, that's surprising. But it is, guys. It is totally free agency now. And in the NFL or NBA, your contract comes up, and you're a free agent every 4 or 5 years, however long your contract is. In college football now, it's a 1-year deal. It's you're a free agent the next year, and they got to fix it. They got to do something, and maybe it's the transfer rules, capping the NIL. When you have established players getting in the portal for one reason and one reason only, that shows you it's a problem. And for the most part, not some situations a guy wants playing time. Some situation he can't stand the coach. Maybe the offense isn't a fit. guys, let's be honest. A lot of these guys are in the portal because they know they can make more money somewhere else, or they think they can make more money somewhere else.
Yeah.
And the reason I brought that up is what's the word on KJ? Because all the rumors that are out there are that he is kind of straddling the fence right now about whether to go NFL, stay another year in Vietnam, or third choice would be to transfer.
Yep, that's where we are. There was a report last week. I think it was 24/7 Sports saying that he was planning to enter the portal when it opened, and that was the day after the Petrino news broke. We didn't have an official announcement yet, but Petrino had been tweeting pictures of his granddaughter calling the hog, and he had changed his Twitter profile, so we knew it was official. We were just waiting for the official word, and then that news from KJ came out while I was on the radio, so like around 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was just like, man, this is just bad timing. KJ should not do that today. If he had any feeling about the university and what was going on, and the great feeling that Arkansas fans were having, that was bad timing. And minutes later, he was on Instagram, and he said, I have not made up my mind. I am still trying to decide what I'm doing. So he put an end to that report that he was going to go into the portal. And that's the last we've heard. And I don't know, man. Guys, to me, it's a hard choice. KJ is not going to make the same amount of money at Arkansas as he did last year. They have got other priorities, other places they have to spend it. And the way I look at it is Arkansas has a salary cap. Arkansas has a budget. And you can't blow your budget on one quarterback.
Correct.
And that's what they did last year. They spent a ton of money to keep KJ. And, of course, they had some – I mean, that's not all the money they had, but they spent a lot of their budget on their quarterback. And you look at the NFL, you got to take that NFL model. The teams that are successful in the NFL, they're using that quarterback in his first contract, that first 5 years, where they're not having to pay a quarterback $40 million. They're able to surround him with talent. Arkansas wasn't able to do that last year with KJ. So this year, what they're going to do is spend less on the quarterback and more on an offensive line and maybe an explosive wide receiver. So it is crazy we're talking about college football that way, but you've got to have a guy that can deal with your salary cap or your budget that can help you figure out, we can spend X amount here because we're going to spend X amount on the offensive line. Don't forget about that safety we need. We need that explosive wide receiver, and that's going to cost you like $300,000 these days. Yeah. So you need a capologist as an assistant coach.
Do you know the thing that I would think? I would think that KJ is thinking that Lamar Jackson is a smaller version of me. Maybe a little more elusive, but certainly can't run with the power I've got. And I would think KJ might think I'm a better passer than Lamar Jackson was, is, or ever will be. And look what Lamar Jackson did with Bobby Petrino as his head coach. So I got to think that that's going to be a positive for Arkansas.
He's got to make a very mature decision, a decision that, someone much older has to make at some point in his life. Yeah. Do I take less money right now to work with somebody who could get me in the NFL, make me a better player, increase my draft value? In fact, guys, right now, I don't think he has any draft value. He's not getting drafted. He's a free agent. Look, if he hooks up with a team, you can make $700,000-$800,000 as a rookie, $300,000 on a practice squad. Do I take less money, roll the dice, bet on myself, bet on Bobby Petrino? He's going to make me better, and then I'll get drafted and I'll have a career in the NFL. Or do I search and find the best deal available, make the most money I can next year somewhere else?
Well,
that's what he's having to decide.
Yeah, if I'm his advisor, financial advisor, I would say to KJ, listen, think about this. You need to come back to Arkansas. Let Bobby Petrino be your coach. Okay, you're going to make less money maybe than if you went somewhere else, but I can assure you this: if you go somewhere else and you fall on your face, you can never come back to Arkansas and get the kind of love you will get if you come back to this school to try and fix this program. Okay. You got paid a lot of money by Armor Bank and some other companies like that. You will have NIL will be pocket change for what you can get in the rest of your life, because the people of Arkansas love the Hogs. They love that school, and that school is way bigger than your ass. Okay. So you need to stay at Arkansas. That's what I would. And it's easy to say, oh, he should go somewhere else. No, it's not. Because wherever you go, they're going to be, like Walker White. He's committed to Auburn. Auburn's got Peyton Thorne. He's probably coming back next year. They're recruiting like crazy. Once they get you to commit to a school, that school doesn't stop recruiting other players. But let me throw some stats at y'all real quick. Kevin Skarbinski wrote something really good, put it out on Twitter last night. He's a member of our show on the Saturday Roundtable. If the ACC is comparable to the SEC, please explain why. The SEC has 3 teams in the other New Year's Six bowls. The ACC has 1. The SEC runner-up is number 6 in the final ranking. The ACC runner-up is number 15. The SEC has 5 teams in the top 13. The ACC has 1 team in the top 14. Thoughts, questions, comments? I mean, Kevin, one of the best writers in America, but I'm telling you, he makes great points. But again, Bobby Petrino, look, who am I? Look at Auburn. Auburn gave Hugh Freeze a second chance, gave Bruce Pearl a second chance. We all talk about forgiveness. I mean, Bobby Petrino, Wess, and Franz was at the Touchdown Club in Little Rock. A lot of powerful people there. They know. You think anybody in there had never done something stupid in their personal life? I mean, my God, we've become the biggest society of the most unforgiving, hypocritical, cynical people ever.
But
people say it's because of the corruption and all like that, whatever. But man, I'm going to tell you something. If you're always going around thinking there's some sort of a conspiracy every time you don't get your way, you're never going to get your way. Wes?
I'll say this. There are a lot of influential people who were still friends with Bobby Petrino.
Yeah.
That forgave him a lot quicker than some fans. And it's the national media for the most. Guys, we've ran numerous polls. I've seen numerous polls. 90% of the fan base here at Arkansas is good with this.
Yeah.
It is a very small group of people that feel like he screwed over the university and caused years and years and years of harm and don't want him back. So the naysayers, for the most part, it's nationally. And guys, you know how it is within your fan base. They don't care about the national people, the national media. No, this is all about what's good for Arkansas, what's good for the program, and what's good for Sam Pittman. Guys, I said Friday, Sam Pittman, after listening to the press conferences, there were those who felt like Pittman was forced to hire Bobby Petrino, that you're a check called and said, if you're going to keep your job, you're hiring this guy. After listening to the press conference and listening to these coaches talk about how this all went down, that did not happen. In fact, it was Petrino's agent who reached out to Pittman and said, hey, would there be an interest in Bobby Petrino? We're looking around. And Pittman called Petrino or texted him and said, hey, this is Sam Pittman. I'd like to talk to you if you got a moment. Petrino said that, man, he got so excited. He called him right away. They talked for a few minutes and set up a time to have their first conversation. Called later that night, talked for, like an hour, a couple hours. And Petrino said, I got a phone and he didn't offer me. And I was like, he said, I was surprised and I was second guessing my interview skills and thought, man, I got to really step my game up. I thought he was going to offer me the job and didn't. But they had a couple more conversations, and Pittman was interviewing other people, and he wanted to make sure he was making the right hire. And then that's when he pulled the trigger. That takes a big man, because he knows how popular Bobby Petrino is with this fan base. And this guy is, took Arkansas to the Sugar Bowl and to an 11-win season, their most successful coach in years. To hire him when you're trying to keep your job, when your fan base is starting to doubt you, that takes a big man. Yeah. And for Pittman to do that showed me a lot. and I know he says it all the time, and I believe it. He wants what's best for this program because he loves the state. He loves the Razorbacks. Well, he swallowed his pride and took a chance, and he hired a guy who he thinks is the best person to help turn this program around. So I applaud Sam Pittman for that move.
I think it was a good move, and of course, it helps that Bobby Petrino's agent is Jimmy Sexton. I mean that might have helped just a teensy bit,
I don't think it is because no, it's not, because he said he didn't have an agent and he got rid of his agent and he was working at Missouri State and he just kept calling her she. She called me. She convinced me that I needed an agent. I need to start looking around again, that she was going to help rebuild my image, and we were going to get back in the game. And he said, we're going to get back in the game.
Because Jimmy Sexton was his agent when he was at Louisville. That's why.
Yeah, he got rid of him. And I don't know who it is, but he kept calling her she, and he gave her a lot of credit for getting back in the game, basically from going from FCS, Missouri State, to Texas A&M. And he said that she is the one who reached out to Sam Pittman.
Well,
without him knowing, by the way. He said, I didn't even know she did it, but I sure do thank her now.
Well, it's a really good move, I think, for Arkansas. And Sam, we've seen what Sam can do when he has a really good offensive coordinator. And he let's face it, he had a good one, and then things dropped off this year with a bad one. So I like the move, but you know what, guys, I'm looking at this. Texas coming into the league next year, going to be loaded. Oklahoma coming into the league next year, going to be loaded. Georgia's going to be loaded. Alabama's going to be loaded. People don't realize how this is one of the youngest teams that Nick has ever had. They're going to be loaded. Auburn's on the way up under Hugh Freeze. Ole Miss has got, as long as Lane Kiffin is there, Ole Miss is going to win 9 or 10 ball games. You can count on that.
Yeah.
He'll outcoach the people. You got Brian Kelly down at LSU. He's going to have they're not going to be a different offense with Nussmeier, but goodness, he'll load up in the portal again like he has. And Tennessee's coming on. The SEC is going to be absolutely brutal next year. And, we're looking at with these additions, I don't know that any team can go unbeaten in the SEC forthcoming. You look at this is going to be the best league in the country is about to get doubly tough.
Yeah. Wes, let me throw this one at you. I like what Kelly Leach is one of our viewers. Very smart guy. I mean, he's put a lot of comments on here this morning, and between the text and these things, I can't get them all up, but I like what he said. FSU did what was required at the beginning of the season, go undefeated. They did that, and they got screwed. I do think the committee just said, well, with their third-team quarterback, they're not the same team. But he also said that, that being said, so the committee dings the team because the starting QB is out due to injury. They should also ding the team whose players are opting out. I call it quitting, but that's what they are. So good points made by Kelly Leach. But let me throw this at you, Wes. I agree with you. I was reading, and I know a lot of Arkansas fans. I live in Memphis, but we're in parking at the farm a lot of Hog fans around me. And some of them were saying when Yurachek kept Sam Pittman, their narrative was, this shows how not serious Arkansas is about winning in college football. And I was like, really? And then they go hire Bobby Petrino. But again, Bobby Petrino, he screwed up. We know what he did. Let's go take a look at the Fortune 500 CEOs in America. You know who knows more about them than anybody? Their mistresses and their home decorators. That's who really knows more about them than anybody. Let's be honest. Okay? How many of them want to put their whole lives out for public viewing? I'm sick and tired of the hypocrisy and the sanctimonious, holier than thou's. The bottom line is, you say, well, you want a man like that. Let me tell you something. You're the one that raises your children. If you think some coach is going to up you, you're crazy. As a parent, it's your job to equip them with the tools when they get to college. And I'm sick of people ripping on Bobby Petrino. I'm sick of them ripping on Arkansas for hiring him. Everybody loves Sam Pittman, but you want a coach that wins. You don't want the coach that everybody likes that doesn't win. But Sam Pittman made a bad hire. I thought it was a great hire, like Franz said. But it's working. But you know the fan base of Arkansas better than anybody. I'm around a lot of them, but you're in Little Rock. If I'm KJ Jefferson, I'm going, you know what? I would issue an apology on TV. I'd buy a commercial airtime with my NIL money and say, look, I made a rash, immature statement on social media. I am committed to Arkansas. This school's had my back the whole time I've been here. I'm staying. I'm going to do everything in my power to get Arkansas football back on the winning track. End of statement, Wes. How about that?
Yeah, look, I'll tell you this. There are more people that are excited about Bobby Petrino coming back than KJ Jefferson coming back.
Well, you got to have both of them.
No, you don't. I mean, Jacoby Criswell went to North Carolina for a reason.
Yeah,
North Carolina has developed a lot of quarterbacks. All you have to do is look in the NFL and look at this year's NFL draft, and he was stuck behind Drake May. And Jacoby Criswell, from what I've been told in practice, and then I know coaches who know him, he can spin it. He's very accurate. KJ's not an accurate quarterback from, 20 yards in. KJ's got a great deep ball. Great. Well, that was the problem. He couldn't throw the deep ball this year because the offensive line couldn't protect him more than 2 seconds. So, Look, I'll tell you this. If KJ leaves, it's no sweat off my back because I think they're fine with Jacoby Criswell.
What's the word on Rocket? Do you think he's coming back?
I do not. I don't.
No.
I think Rocket's moving on. I don't know if he'll be playing somewhere else or just go to the NFL. These running backs, they want to get to the NFL as quick as possible because the lifespan's not very long. So the younger you get there, the better. And he may have to go and hope he gets drafted in the 6th, 7th round off of what happened last year instead of this season. But I do not expect Rocket back.
You know what the problem I have with him is, and you talked about it on the show. He went out to Dallas, left Fayetteville to work with trainers and stuff on the rehab and all. I mean, this is the guy. I'm sorry. I know he's got to think about his career, but Arkansas's got trainers. They've got doctors. That's what he's there for. I mean, the scholarship's worth about $150,000 a year. And NIL is here. We got to deal with it. But, I'm just saying if I'm KJ Jefferson, I would say to the Arkansas fans that I love you and I want to be a part of this deal. But you know better than me, Jacoby, Criswell. I remember when he was recruited out of Arkansas. Is he from Malvern or where was he from?
Morrilton. Yeah, you're close. Morrilton.
Morrilton. Okay. Yeah.
That was the whole Chad Morris and his son fiasco where Morris had a commitment from his son, Chandler. And so, I mean, he recruited Criswell and tried to convince him that he wanted both of them. But, come on, let's be honest. You got the coach's son coming in. It's going to be tough to, overcome that stigma and that battle. So
it is.
He went to North Carolina.
Well, let me throw this one at you. The Cherry Farm, our hunting club's over in Parkin, Arkansas. And in Parkin, right at 64 on Highway 64 there, there's a place called Journey's Barbecue Shack or Journey's. Anyway, that's Gary Bohannon. That's Gary's father. Gary Bohannon Jr. went to Earl High School, went to Baylor and transferred to South Florida. Did Arkansas recruit him? Because I remember talking to Tim Horton back in February of 2017. He was up there at the high school visiting him, and we went to lunch the next day when he was in Memphis. But, there's some pretty damn good players in the state of Arkansas that have gone on to other places. But I do remember Bohannon and Briswell, outstanding quarterbacks. And by the way, go by that Journey's Barbecue Shack, Wes, if you're ever going on 64 to Memphis. Get the brisket sandwich, the quesadillas, or one of their loaded baked potatoes with shrimp, steak, or chicken, or all of the above. That place is awesome. And their brisket sandwich is is otherworldly, I might add. But I'm just thinking about some of these kids coming out of Arkansas, and in Wynn, you know, their football field ended up over in Dyersburg when that tornado hit March 31st. But if you think Briswell's good and could be better, you're right about North Carolina. Look what they've done under Mac Browne with the QBs.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Criswell was one of the higher recruited guys in the state of Arkansas that year. So, you know, to get him to come back, that would be awesome. That was awesome. And now he may be the guy. Hey, guys, they're calling for me at the radio station.
I know you got to
jump on here real quick.
All right, Wes Moore, thanks so much. We'll look forward to talking with you next week.
Take care, guys. Bye.
You too, man. Bye-bye. Friends, this is the part about it. And by the way, that Journey's Barbecue Shack on Highway 64 in Parkin, Arkansas, Mr. Bohannon, Big Gary, he has piles of wood that he stores there. Hickory, pecan, and red oak. And a lot of times he does the brisket at his house. He'll go 11, 12 hours. And the brisket sandwich is so good. It melts in your mouth with coleslaw on top of it. Unbelievable. But
you're making me hungry now.
I know. And it's just, and the quesadillas there, most quesadillas are as thin as a paper football. These quesadillas are that thick. They've got chicken breast and thigh meat in them. And they're unbelievable. Journey's Barbecue Shack there on Highway 64 in Parkin, Arkansas. Franz, unbelievable stuff. You continue to just pound out the content every day. It's true grit journalism. We need more of it. Great comments, man. I'm telling you what, I wish, hey, more of you send in on YouTube. It's hard for me to text and keep my focus when I'm talking to the guests. And I'm going to tell you what, I wish I could have gotten to all the comments, and I appreciate everybody we do listening, watching. It's because we have great guests and we engage them. This has been unbelievably fun. Will Rogers going to Washington, wouldn't have guessed that one. Wow. Man. I mean, hey, friends, the portal has a window, and Walter Nolan, you see that defensive lineman?
Yeah, that's huge. He was a 5-star coming out of high school.
Yeah, was it St. Benedict in Memphis, and then went to Knoxville Powell High School, and then to A&M. A&M's just completely just imploding. I mean, the guy's leaving. I thought that Elko would be able to stabilize them somewhat.
Well, all you got to look at what's happening at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has lost all 3 scholarship quarterbacks now.
Good.
They have lost their two top receivers, Will Shepard and London Humphreys. London Humphreys is going to be a really hot property. I'm telling you, a freshman. He was a freshman this year, and had he been on a decent ball club, oh my gosh, he would. He caught, I think, 48 passes and really, really lit up the league a lot. He was good, but you look at what's going on there. Kentucky's had a bunch of them. Arkansas, Tarian Carter just goes into the portal just now. I'm telling you, there's that expression, all hell's breaking loose.
Yeah.
All hell is breaking loose this week because
it is in the portal. We've run out of time. Friends, we'll get you back on later in the week. You got too much good stuff. We didn't get it all in, but check him out. GatorbaitMedia.com. Franz Beard, Buddy Martin show, weeknights at 9 p.m. Eastern. Absolutely incredible content coming out of there. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Merry Christmas, everybody. Going to be a phenomenal next month leading up to the national championship in Houston. So get ready. We'll be back with more tomorrow. Got Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart batting in the leadoff position tomorrow. Jason Caldwell, Rodney Orr, Tyler Insider. A lot going on, and I appreciate you listening. We are out of here.